an AppleVis original.
So the app's purpose is to recognize, scan, and deliver to us, the blind people, expiry date in a way that we can manage. So speech synthesis, or even Braille, if you want. I'm the only person who has the experience of blindness / low vision, should I say, on the team. So my quote unquote struggle with the team was to teach them all these experiences. And that's why we not only relied on my personal experiences, which would not be enough, I suppose. And that's why we organized a series of tests with the blind and low-sighted people. The project leader, Artur, approaching me and telling me, listen, I've done some research and I think a dating app would be a good idea for the blind community. And I said, surely so, but there is another thing which is an unmet need for the community, and where you could use actually artificial intelligence, which is his field of expertise, and this is expiry date recognition and scanning.
Hello and welcome to an AppleVis Extra interview edition. My name is Thomas Donville, also known as Anonymous, and today we have a host and a guest here that's going to be talking to us about a new app that just came out called Zuzanka. And with me in the house today, I have Wojtek. How are you?
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm doing great.
Well, it is a pleasure to have you on, and I tell you, I've been playing with the Zuzanka a lot, and I did a podcast on this yesterday, and I really enjoy this immensely because it just brings a whole new thing to my life I don't have to worry about, because one of the hardest things for us to do as a blind is that just being able to find such as an expiration date on a product and being able to instantaneously bring it up and show us when it expires, etc. But before I steal the show and keep just rambling there, I'm going to have you tell us what, in your word, is Zuzanka is.
Well, the app is devoted or is built with the visually impaired persons in mind, but anyone can use it, obviously. And it's the first, as far as I can tell, the first expiry date scanner. So the app's purpose is to recognize, scan, and deliver to us, the blind people, expiry date in a way that we can manage. So speech synthesis, or even Braille, if you want. And the idea behind the app was to make it as simple as possible. So you just tap on the app, it opens, and you can proceed to scan the expiry date, and that's it.
Well, you presented some good points there, and you're right. It is definitely geared to also for those with low vision, because you do have some options in there for those of low vision. And as you state, which is kind of important too, is that for those that are even deafblind, can use a Braille display and be able to see the results of the expired products.
Yes, that's right. We wanted to stick to all the standards, and also, I'm the only person who has the experience of blindness / low vision, should I say, on the team. So my quote unquote struggle with the team was to teach them all these experiences. And that's why we not only relied on my personal experiences, which would not be enough, I suppose. And that's why we organized a series of tests with the blind and low-sighted people. And some of the more intriguing and best ideas came from them, not from me.
Isn't that odd? And that's kind of funny. But yeah, the design of it is just beautiful and laid out. So was it made in-house?
Yes. The team worked on it first, and then we presented it to our testers, and through a series of, as we call them, approximations in the jargon, we've reached the state we are in now.
That makes sense. And so, as being blind yourself, that definitely helps, because you know what you need to what you're trying to produce and what would satisfy the blind community. And, how is it? So is it difficult to be able to interpret the different expiration date from different countries?
Well, I'm not a computer programmer. I'm just a humble humanist / social scientist, translator, interpreter. So I cannot tell you about the intricacies of algorithmic thinking, but they did it, and it wasn't working as good as it is now at the beginning of the process. But actually, the people who know many things about setting up your own company and running startups and actually testing these things out, tell us that we were really fast in delivering the product, because we only started working on it in January. So it took us about 12 months, about a year to launch the ready-made product.
How did you come up with a name for it?
Well, to be honest, this is a secret of the project leader, and he refuses to tell us what is the origin of this name. But it's a nice one, and we really were thinking of changing it because it was a code name for the app in its development process. But then we came up with all these strange things like blind data or date scanner recognition, whatever, and it sounded like going on a date. So we thought, well, Zuzanka is quite nice. It sounds great, and it sounds Czech-ish, I would say, and it's cool. I love the name now.
What a hoot! That's funny. So we'll never know the origin of the name. He'll just go to the grave with him.
I don't know. Maybe he can tell us sometime at some point in the future. But we are planning to introduce other apps for other purposes, and these also have female code names. So. Oh,
interesting! Interesting person.
Yes, and I must tell you, I know many Zuzanas. Zuzanka is like a Czech name, but its Polish version is Zuzana. And I think all the people who have this name, Zuzanna, are just very good and nice people. So,
well, that's a good start. There is that I noticed that our TTS is only what we hear and assume the name is. So it sounds like it's Zuzanka.
Yes, Zuzanka.
So it's not Zuzanka. So that's kind of a English-American way of saying it, because that's how the TTS, but Zuzanka. Okay, I like that better, actually.
Good to hear that.
Well, tell us about the story. How did this come about? Where did it start?
Well, you see, as a visually impaired person myself, and with one leg in the academia and the other leg in other more practical things, I get a lot of phone calls from people who want to do something good for the community, but who don't know what to do. So these people would offer me certain projects, and they approached me with sometimes bizarre ideas. And my goal there always is to kind of let them know what is really of use for the community. And I remember that project leader, Artur, approaching me and telling me, listen, I've done some research and I think a dating app would be a good idea for the blind community. And I said, surely so. But there is another thing which is an unmet need for the community, and where you could use actually artificial intelligence, which is his field of expertise, and this is expiry date recognition and scanning. So, and then he came back to me a few days later and said, my team said it was possible to do that. So that's how it started.
Wow. And that was what, done 12 months ago when the storyboard or just kind of laid out the groundwork for it?
About 12 months ago. Plus, we needed to apply for funding for this project because it's a labor-intensive and cost-intensive project, and I'll come to it in a second. But the reason why I offered him this idea of expiry date is that as a visually impaired person myself, and my wife Camila is also visually impaired, we are having a lot of troubles with these expiry dates, and we sometimes invite our sighted relatives to go through the food products or any other products that may have expiry date on them, and it's so frustrating, so annoying for us to do that. So that's why I immediately thought of it. Like, we have so many brilliant apps that can do OCR for us, that can scan whatever, the notes, the bills, and we didn't have up until now this functionality. So that's how it all started.
That's amazing. You're so right. You hit it right on the head. That's I don't know why it never occurred to me, but when this app came out, I was like, oh my goodness, this is brilliant, because this is definitely something that we all can use. Like a dating app, that's something that not all of us would use and such, but this would fit in that, check that box of saying, hey, this is a great tool that everybody can use and will use on a daily basis, especially if you are living alone or with a other visually partner that have trouble seeing expiration date, and we all struggle through that. So tell me about the team then. So who's in it? Tell us a little bit about yourself and the team that are involved in this.
Okay, so Artur is our leader, and it's the person who is behind, writing paperwork and project papers, etc., applying for funding. So he's great with doing all these things that I'm not so great with. We have two programmers or software developers. So one is Jarek, and he's very into algorithmic stuff, and he's really good at it. And the other one is Serhii, who is, by the way, came from Ukraine, and he's brilliant in terms of front end. So most of the interface, or rather the entire interface, is his job, and he really taught himself or learned how to do accessible apps very quickly, and after a few months he would just pop up with new ideas, which are all very good. We used to have another programmer, female programmer, Monica, who lives in Spain, and she was also instrumental in training the algorithm, so I should acknowledge her role as well. And we have Adam, who is also in charge of all these technicalities, like for example, when we had testing sessions, we would offer the participants of these sessions certain gratification for participating. I think this is really ethical thing to do, to offer the blind or low-sighted people, or anyone else for that matter, some sort of gratification, compensation for their participation in research. And this is what we did. And I also needed a sighted assistant to assist me during the testing process. And that was his role. And last but not least, there is my humble person. I'm a linguist, translation studies scholar by training, and translator and interpreter, English into Polish and Spanish into Polish interpreter. So I have these various hats where I work at the academia, work as interpreter / translator. And I've started this accessibility line of my work 10 years ago. I think I was involved heavily in audio description, and I continue to be involved in that. And then I sort of participated in several projects related to app development and other forms of accessibility.
What a great set of team you have there. So well done. And you're right. I mean, just looking at this app, it's just professionally done and it's very well laid out. You can tell there's a lot of time and effort that went into this. So congratulations to the team, and they definitely get a pat on the back for something that's just remarkable. And what a wonderful story. Thank you for that. And now you got me curious, and I'm sure some that are listening are going to ask, how did the funding work? And so how did this get off the ground? So what funded this, and what kind of monetize you have going on for this app?
Well, just to recognize, before I go into funding, just to recognize the fact that I'm really proud of the team, and I'm really proud of the fact that this project was built right from its start with a member of the target community at its center, because I was always consulted about everything. And that's something, I work at the academia, and I work in various other fields, and it's not often that you come across a team that, so fully embraces you as the member of, the target group they are supposed to work for. And it really needs to be acknowledged that as a sort of paradigm of work, this is a good approach to have someone who is from the community at the central stage. And it's also that in many of these projects you have team members or IT specialists or professionals earning huge amounts of money, and then us, the partially sighted, low-sighted, blind consultants, earning very little. That was really not the case. We have very equitable policy in terms of, paying for participation in the project. And also, as I told you before, we did make sure that all the testers were compensated for their effort, and I really insisted on that, and there was no problem with that, of course. But when it comes to funding, well, we should ask people who were in charge of it, because I only benefited from it in terms of having a calm mind and working in a tranquil setting on this project. But I know that we applied for funding from a special funding body, which was partially funded by the Polish National Center for Research and Development. So it was partially a private fund and partially Polish National Center for Research and Development. And also what needs to be stressed, that within the whole, the same funding source, there were other projects, and I think ours is the most successful one in terms of implementing a solution and putting something on the market and applying things we've done. And as I told you before, we consulted with some of the experts in the field, and they were really amazed that it took us really not that long to release the app.
That is amazing. And you're so right. And I really appreciate you going out and appreciating the effort and making sure everybody is well compensated. And that is wonderful to hear. We love hearing stories like that. And I'm always glad to hear that everybody got something out of it that is not starving kind of a payment, but compensation that is seemed to be deemed fair. So I appreciate that. The Zuzanka, I have to ask about this, and as I was using it yesterday, some idea came across, and I'm curious, does any of the information or the scanning results that I do on Zuzanka, is that being transferred to a server or to you, or is that just strictly on the device itself?
Well, it depends if you agree to that. Well, by default, and this is stated in the privacy policy that you agree to before launching the app, you are agreeing to send some information to us, only specifically for the purpose of improving of the accuracy. And you may be asking yourself, what is the information I'm transferring now that I didn't disagree with transferring anything. Well, you can do that by going to settings and general, and there you can uncheck the box for data transfer. Well, all these information related to app crashes, etc., which is quite sensible and I would say non-controversial, but then there are also some pictures that may be transferred if you agree to do so to us, and that is when just to go back a bit, if you use the app, there are all these different beep sounds that you hear. So there is this short beep, which is saying like, I'm active. You can use me, the scanner. There is the long beep in rather distant spaces of time, and this is when it intends to tell you, I am working, I'm seeing something which may be expiry date or not. So none of these pictures will be ever transferred to us. It will always stay on your device, and basically the whole procedure takes place on your device. So the recognition process takes place on your device. Now then, right before it recognizes the expiry date, it'll increase the speed of beeps. So it'll go like beep, 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 beep. And then also you would never transfer anything to us. None of the pictures would go to us. Only when the beep sound, the quick beep sound goes for more than 3 seconds. So in a way that the algorithm can see that there is the expiry date over there, but it cannot deal with that. Then in those border cases, you may opt out from this, but it will send us a picture of it because we want to improve the algorithm. We want it to be more precise and accurate, and it's quite accurate and precise right now, as far as I can tell. But we want to improve it also.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it really essentially if you can, and I tell our listeners, I would highly encourage you to leave that option in to turn on to share, because like you say, I think the more pictures and the more situation where we have a difficult time finding something, the better results that might end in the future, because those pictures are being sent to the team to analyze and see if they can tweak the AI just a little bit to see things better. And the more input they get, the better results for everybody. Is that pretty much true?
Yes, and of course these are detached from all the other personal information you may have. So it's not that it says, oh, Wojtek's iPhone sent today at 15:05 this picture from his kitchen at his home in Warsaw. It's just, this is the picture that was sent, and that's it. There is no personal data attached to it. So I think this is something which is really important to state. And also, coming to speaking of the process we put into it, in order for the algorithm to work, the team, fortunately enough, I wasn't involved in that for obvious reasons. The team needed to take about 17,000 pictures of expiry dates on packages. And, I attended recently an academic/practical conference, and there was a paper on a similar solution, but the people who did it had 100 pictures taken. So now we have 17,000, and
Wow.
with your kind support, dear users, we will have more, and we will be able to recognize dates across the world, which is something that is happening because we have now users from the US through South Africa to Malaysia. So it does seem to be working, but anyway, there is always scope for improvement with these algorithms.
Definitely. And I am curious now that is this, let's talk to our users about the Zuzanka. cost. And so it's free to download. And I thought maybe you can just kind of chime in and tell everybody about the different plans and the difference between them all, if you would.
Sure, I'll do my best because I can see these prices in Polish zlotys, not in US dollars.
Yeah, we don't have to do exact dollars, but or money currency, but just kind of an idea. There's 4 different types of payment I think you accept.
Well, the idea is that for the first 14 days, you can run it absolutely for free. So you can test it out. You don't have to believe us that it works. You can test it out in different light conditions or any other conditions you may have, as we did during our testing sessions, because we went to the users' homes to test in their particular conditions, not in the conditions we set for them, in the lab conditions. So following those 14 days, you will still be able to continue scanning your expiry dates. The limit is that you will be able to only scan one expiry date, recognize one expiry date per day. And there's going to be, I think, 1 day in a month that you will be able to recognize as many expiry dates as you wish. Now, if you want to get full access following the 14 days trial, you can do that by purchasing some of our subscription options, or one of our subscription options. We have monthly subscription, which is worth, I think, about $2 if I'm converting rightly the amount in Polish zlotys. Then there is the, I think, 6-month option, which would cost you about $10. Then there is another for a year, which would cost you something like $18. And then there is the lifetime subscription, which is something about which is like $25, I think. And I must say, I was also the one who invented the pricing structure, because the team didn't have any idea how to price it. And I was tempted to use the template established by Cash Reader. So you have all these different options, and then you have the lifetime subscription, just as it is the case with Cash Reader. But Cash Reader is a bit more expensive when it comes to lifetime subscription. And also, I would say, I've purchased Cash Reader many years ago, and I haven't really used it that often, whereas expiry date recognition I use all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's, the price is fair. And I think the price point that you point on it is very good. And now typically I will balk and complain about prices, but this is right in the ballpark. And I appreciate that. And it's really, it's interesting that you mentioned Cash Reader as being kind of a template or a cookie cutter. That's, a lot of us do use that app, and as wonderful as that app is, it just has a lot of different options. So this is pretty easy to remember and to choose from. There's definitely there for everybody. There's for that want to do for a lifetime. There's those that don't want a subscription. You can get your 1 scan per day, and then 1 per month. You get unlimited. I mean, you can't beat that. You got a little bit of everything in there, and so. Which brings the point is that I realize, and I believe that Zuzanka is also available for the Mac. And if so, is the experience similar?
Yes, it's available for the Mac computers running on M1/M2 CPUs. That's for sure. And I've tested it on Mac, and it's usable with VoiceOver on Mac. But I don't think, the experience is pretty similar, or even better, because I think the camera is quite good on the Mac, and the CPU is really good. But I don't think this is the most handy thing to do to approach your food products to the camera on your Mac over the top of your Mac keyboard. So I wouldn't necessarily say this is a very good way to to use the app. But if you want to do so, you can, of course, do that.
That makes sense. I mean, you don't want to go up to the computer with a big milk jug or whatever it is. And
That's right. That's right.
And so I get that. I'm with you. But for little things, it would make sense. And so I'm guessing because you use the same credential with your Apple ID on your phone that it carries across the Mac. So one subscription or one lifetime works both devices.
Yes, but also I think we need to stress that it's also available for iPad. And this is something we've tested during the testing period of our app. And for some reason, and we may speculate what is the reason for this, many users were more successful in using this app with an iPad. And I may also imagine a context in which using it on a MacBook is also a very good idea, because MacBook has its camera set in one position and you will only manipulate with your product. So that may be a good idea. But again, I would say it offers so many options. You can use it on your iPhone, you can use it on your iPad, you can use it on your MacBook. So there is plenty of scope for you to customize the use you want to have.
You know, you presented a good point, and I always state that too with a lot of people. Put the product down, put it on a table, have one thing that's moving, have them both move in the same time is just not going to get the results you want. And also, it will probably, you're doing a big favor to the algorithm of not moving around with two places. So that brings the point of what kind of scanning results have you had in terms of accuracy with your testers on the product?
Yes, obviously the app has been and continues to be in the state of permanent development, so it'll go up. So when we started, the accuracy wasn't that great as it is right now, and I remember me testing first beta releases of the app with the product, with one particular product, and it wasn't able to recognize it, and then or now I can take the same product and it will be able to recognize it. We didn't focus on measuring its accuracy in percentages because we thought it too sterile to lab conditions. And what we wanted instead is to have success with our testers, because the lab will not work in the app will not work in the lab. It will work in the kitchens and other places where our users will use it. So that's why during the testing process, we went straight to the homes of our users and we tested it with them in the real life conditions, with the lighting they have, with any other conditions they may have. And gradually the algorithm did improve. For example, one complication we had at the beginning was that the expiry date needed to be placed like straight in front of the camera. It had to be placed at a specific angle. So either vertical or horizontal. It didn't work if it wasn't vertical or horizontal angle. And now, thanks to angle detector, you can basically place your expiry date in whatever position you want. It'll recognize it and transfer and read out the results. So again, to recapitalize, we didn't want to measure accuracy in percentages. We want the users to be happy with the accuracy, and they were indeed very happy with it, and they are happy.
Of course. I know one person that's very excited, and as I mentioned in the demonstration that I put out on the site, is that I had a gentleman that was blind and he was in the vending machine business. And the biggest thing we had problem with was being able to identify all these products that he sells. They were chips, they were candies, they were sodas, whatever those are. And we could never get a successful result. And when I got this, brought it out. First thing I did was I went to the bag of chips and a can of soda, and it read it immediately. It wasn't like something I had to work on it for 5 minutes. It just like it was just worked, and I was just so stunned. And I ended up calling him, and he was just beyond excited because that made his life so much easier. Because what he was having to do, he was having to put different types of stickers on the package. And, stickers can cost a lot of money. So there'd be circle ones that are due in a month and square ones that are due in another 2 months and whatever. So now he doesn't have to worry about that. And, most of the time I had pretty good results, and I've seen a couple people on AppleVis that had some similar issues as mine, is that sometimes, like I had a can here, I don't know what it was, if it was green beans or whatever, but it gave me the wrong result. So it said it was expired 3 months ago, when in fact it doesn't expire until 2 years from now. And it ended up being, that's not the expiry date. And I get it. There's so many numbers on these things, and sometimes it's going to happen. And so when I ended up doing on the bottom, and that's where the expiry date, and it for some reason doesn't work. And that's one of the reasons I was going to ask you if I held it just long enough where it will send it to the database. I had made a suggestion, maybe send it, hey, I'm having an issue with this one because it gave me the wrong results. If I was able to send it to you, say, hey, this one's having a problem, could you tweak your AI on this particular so we don't necessarily have to do it manually. That gets sent automatically, right?
Thanks for this suggestion. We'll consider that among other suggestions we receive. So I understand that your suggestion would be to kind of have the option to send the wrong results for us to look into them.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
So you could have this under share button once the wrong result is recognized. Well, the idea with the share button was that obviously it won't have 100% accuracy. It will never have 100% accuracy. But if you feel that the results are not right, then the idea was that you would be able to send a picture to your sighted friend and say, hey, this looks suspicious to me. It's expired and I believe it's not. Can you tell me if the scanner works properly or not? So that was the idea. But then I think it's a valid point that you could have another option under the share button to send the photo to us. Not for us telling you whether it's correct or not, because we won't be able to do that on the spot, but for us to continue training the database, the algorithm.
Exactly. And I think those that get any wrong information, then it gets shared with you. And of course, the more that people do this, the better, I think, in the future in terms of more accuracy. So I'm glad you presented the SharePoint. And you're right. There is a share option within Zuzanka, which is absolutely fantastic, where you can send this to someone sighted, and that's via share. And so you can share that by mail, messages, or import it to other applications. So that was a great feature there, too. I love that. You have any suggestions for people that have a hard time finding expiration date? I know that you have a great set of tutorials and placements where you can find different expiration date, but do you personally have any advice? I know you mentioned that it needs to be kind of flat. So,
Well, there is never going to be a definite guide to where the expiry dates are located on the packages. But if the scanner kind of thinks that the expiry date is there, you could work counterintuitively by moving your iPhone away from the product, which is something that doesn't come to your mind immediately, because we instinctively believe that if we will approach the phone, if we get it closer to the product, it will recognize it better. But sometimes this goes the other way around. So if you move it away, it will recognize it much better. Other than that, try moving slowly the package and go for every side of it may have. And I can assure you that with practice, you will learn where most of these expiry dates are located. But obviously, there will be always some cases in which the algorithm will not be able to identify them. Like, for example, if you have something which is black and the expiry date is black, well, no matter how we tweak the algorithm, it may not be able to recognize black dates on black products.
Sure. And that does exist. I had some vision in my life, and so I do recall that there are packaging that are either too shiny or they put the same color onto the same color of the bag. There's just a lot of situation that can come across where nothing is ever perfect, and I'm glad you said that. But you offer an excellent tip and advice, and that is to just kind of slowly go towards the bag and then just ease up and kind of just go back, because you just don't know where that sweet spot is when the focus comes in. So you just got to it's a lot of practice and patience. That's pretty much I can add to that too. So I am curious now, do you have any future plans for Zuzanka or any other apps?
Well, we do have many plans for Zuzanka and for other apps. So one of the plans is to include barcode recognition, barcode scanner, because in some countries like Poland, this feature is not really covered. Like Seeing AI, it works. I suppose it works really great in the US, but it doesn't work that well in Poland, and it can actually mislead you into. I mean, it cannot mislead you into believing anything, because the results are sometimes so off the mark, if you will. Like, you take a can of beans and it'll tell you that it's a diamond or jewelry or any other thing. So there seems to be many databases of barcodes, and we want to tailor it to our European users. And this is what we're going to try to do, because many users said that they would love to have at a fingertip both functionalities, so barcode scanner plus expiry date recognition. That would make a lot of sense, and then they could sort of have these two at the same time and use them to, I don't know, take notes or make items in their calendar or whatever. Now, the other thing which hasn't been addressed up until now, as far as I can tell, is the scanning of bus numbers, so bus lines numbers. So a bus approaches the bus stop, and the idea is that you take out your mobile phone, and it will tell you what is the bus number. And this is something I've been struggling with for many years, again. And, some of these buses, in Warsaw at least, we have quite a developed network of public transportation. But the problem is that even though bus drivers will have at their disposal loudspeakers to tell us what is the bus number and what is its destination, they would normally not use it. So if we are to be more independent with that, we definitely want to have an app for that. This is a sort of, as all the AI solutions in this respect are, a brute force solution, if you will. But I find it the only solution at this point in time. And also for those buses that you need to hail to stop, this is very important. The accuracy is good. So we are currently testing this solution, and also somewhere down the pipeline, we are also trying to have an app that will recognize COVID tests and any other similar tests that work on the same basis, like, for example, pregnancy tests. This is something which, as far as I know, has not been addressed until now. And I can imagine many situations where a blind person wants to know the results of a given test, like a blind woman wants to know whether she's pregnant or not. And this is something she cannot share with her parents, for example, or would love not to share it with her parents before she definitely knows that this is the case. And so, or her partner for that matter. So our idea is to make these apps and make our lives a bit more independent, although there are always limits to that independence. But if we can scratch some space here and there, it will definitely improve our quality of life.
Boy, that's just marvelous. That's ingenious ideas that you got there. And I know all of those would be so helpful for anyone that's low vision or blind. And I'm just so excited about those ideas. Yeah, you're right. The barcode is something that needs to be location-based. So I suppose if you know where your location is, you can pull that database of barcodes and such. But that's just remarkable because it really goes hand in hand, really. Because if I'm trying to figure out what this is, and I can scan it, see, oh, okay, say a can of green beans and it expired. Now I can make a note. I need to go to the grocery stores and get some more can of green beans. I mean, that's just a thought in that angle there. I really love the ability to scan and recognize COVID tests or similar things like pregnancy tests and let you know what the results are. I just absolutely love it, and I'm so excited for that.
Yes, we're also very much excited, and we are looking forward to doing all these things. And yes, let's see how it'll pan out in the coming months and years. But it's been a nice start with this app, and I'm personally very happy that the idea I had at some point in time just caught with people, and now we receive many emails from around the world, people saying that it didn't change their lives, but it made them a little bit easier, at least.
Oh, yeah.
That's something amazing. I'm really pleased about it. It's like a dream for me. I cannot believe that we are at the point where we have users from around the world.
I am so grateful and appreciated. I am very, very appreciative of you and your team in designing something like this that is so useful. Before we head out of here, and is there anything else you'd like to include to this podcast?
Oh, yes, there are many things I wanted to include in this podcast, but
right.
I think the most important thing and the most amusing thing I wanted to include are some of the anecdotes we had during the testing period. It was really an amazing period of time when we went from home to home and we had conversation and we improved the app. And we also went to, our local vendors and tested the app with them. And the one time I remember going to the vendor who sells us beers and wines and crisps and whatnot. And he was asking me, well, how is your project about the expiry date recognition app? And since I was buying a package of chips or whatnot, I told him, well, give me that package and I will scan the expiry date on it. And then it scanned 2nd of November 2022, it may be expired. And the guy looked at it and was like, gosh, you're right. You get these two for free. I cannot sell it anymore.
Oh, my. That's hilarious. That's awesome.
There is also another story we had with a tester of ours, a blind person, and we went to her home, and then she had this small candy called krówka in Polish. It's called the little cow in Polish. It's kind of really renowned candy in Poland, and she had one piece of it, like a small piece, not a package of it, but a small piece, one item of it. And she showed us, and she told us, well, listen, it'll never recognize any expiry date on it because it doesn't have any expiry date. And voila, after 3 seconds, it recognized 9th of July 2022. And we were all amazed. I showed it to my sighted colleague who was with me, and he said, yes, 9th of July 2022. And it was like, what? Do these things have individual items of these candies? Do they really have expiry date? And after a while, she said, listen, I know what's going on here. I was on a wedding party, and they gave us these candies, and the wedding party took place on July 9th, 2022.
Oh, that's awesome. Gosh, that must have been so awkward for the vendor and things like that. That's just hilarious that you caught them in the spot and say, hey, what are you trying to pass us here?
And he was very, very kind and nice. And, these are all our local vendors. So we are friends with them. And also another time, on another occasion, we bought something, a package of something. I don't remember even what was that, but it was a dairy product. So you cannot really tinker with expiry date in dairy products. And then the next morning, I reach out to the fridge and I say, oh, well, let's use this thing. And was it a cottage cheese or something like that? But let's test it out with Zuzanka before. I purchased it yesterday. It cannot be expired, but let's test it out. It was like very crazy, testing everything all the time. And then it was, we were in September, sometime at the beginning of September, and then it showed me the result was 22nd of July 2022, maybe expired.
Whoa.
So I was like, no, it's impossible. It cannot be the case. So I used the share button and I sent the image to my friend, and he said, no, the app is right. It's expired. And then I went to the local shop. I bought this thing at, and I waited until no customers were there. And I said to the ladies, like, listen, there's something wrong with it. And now we will know that because we have our app. And they were really amazed, but they were also very sorry for that. And of course, they gave us the new cottage cheese for us. They were really sorry for that. They somehow missed that one, and that was an accident, of course. But then we went to the Consumer Protection Office with this app, and we thought they might be interested in it. And they told us, listen, this is a very good thing because, you did the right thing. You went to your local shop and you had a chat with them and they accepted and they exchanged the product for a better one. But then not all the people will be in the same situation. So you may consider adding a button when the date is showing that it's expired. Know your rights as a consumer. And this is something we're going to consider in the future. And there was also another sneaky tester of ours, because we tested it in the so-called focus group. So we had several people at the same time playing with the app. Mm-hmm. And these were people of various conditions, and they had various experiences with the loss of sight, and some of them were trainers. And we were particularly pleased that those people who are trainers and were training accessibility trainers for other blind people, they thought it was a good idea. But there was this one guy who was a trainer who was very sneaky, and at one point said, wait a minute, and he came back with a sheet of paper, and the app read out expiry date on a sheet of paper, A4 sheet of paper. And we asked him, what did you do? And it turned out that he took a pen and wrote a random date, and the app was able to recognize that random date.
Oh, man, that was sneaky. That's so funny. I love that sense of humor. Oh, that is just so awesome about all the various stories. You cause a revolution. You know that, right? So I could just see that once this gets into hands of all the blind folks out there, they're going to be going to all these stores, and you're going to see all these blind folks in the refrigeration area checking all the products, checking the milk, butter. You just cause a revolution.
Well, we will see, but of course the latter example is a bit hilarious. But if you think that there are some letters that arrive, for example, from the court, and they sometimes have the dates on them written, handwritten, then it becomes really useful because OCR will read the town, the date. It wouldn't read the date. It would read only the word, the date, or the month or something. It wouldn't read the complete date. But if the app can read the entire date, it may actually have an impact on what you do, because there are some deadlines to respond to court letters from the court, and you really ought to know when it was sent. So at least that's the case in Poland. So I was really happy about it because I had to deal for some insurance reasons with the court, and that was really useful. I needed to send that paper to my sighted relatives to recognize the date.
Wow. How useful is that? So there's a lot of practical use for this other than just expiry things. That's just phenomenal. Well, Wojtek, this has been a pleasure. I am so glad you were able to come on and do an interview. And I really kind of wanted to bring you on and just listen to the story about Zuzanka and where it came from, where the idea came, and et cetera, and just see the final results. It's just remarkable. I'm just in love with this, and I appreciate you and the team for developing something like this. I can't wait for future updates and plans that you have, and I really appreciate you taking the time out today to do this interview for us.
Thank you, Thomas, for having me, and I wish all our users a happy new year and a good experience with Zuzanka.
Excellent. Well, that's going to do for AppleVis Extra Interview Edition with Thomas Domville, also known as Anonymous. Until next time, bye-bye.
This AppleVis podcast has been brought to you by the community of AppleVis.com. For the latest in resources and tips and tricks to get you the best experience from your Apple device, visit www.applevis.com.